Hello, welcome again to Varsity Sports Live. Tom Neiman along with Jandy Pants, Jason Andera, and we've got Jody standing by in West Fargo with all of the North Dakota stuff tonight. Had that live game, Fargo South, Fargo North, and South comes out on top in that one. What's going on in South Dakota tonight, Jason?
You know what? There was some 1 versus 2 matchups. There was T and Lennox, 2 undefeated teams in 11A going at it. And we had some interesting battles at Howard Wood Field and near upset going on in Yankton. So a lot going on in South Dakota.
Yankton had Roosevelt down at halftime. We'll get to that game here in a minute. Number 1 Huron in 11AA in South Dakota lays an egg at Pierre on homecoming in Pierre.
You can say that because you're from Huron.
We'll get to that in a minute. Let's go to the scoreboards and start in North Dakota with the big schools tonight. Bismarck, number 1 in 3A. They get to 4-0 with a 56-31 win tonight. Jody's got highlights of that game coming up, as well as Bismarck Century and Dickinson. Bismarck Century stays undefeated. Those two, Bismarck and Century, will play each other coming up in about three weeks or so. October 12th is the game date on that one between Bismarck and Century.
Always huge game.
Elsewhere in 3A in North Dakota, West Fargo Cheyenne just gets by Davies. Davies scored with under a minute to go. Could not get the 2-point conversion, though. And Cheyenne gets out of there and gets to 3-1 with a 14-12 win. Jody's got highlights of that one, as well as the live game in Fargo tonight as South gets to 3-1 with the shutout over Fargo North, 29-0 there. Grand Forks Red River evens out at 2-2. Got by Central tonight, 34-10. Jody's got that game, as well as Bismarck Legacy and West Fargo. First win of the year for West Fargo. They are 1-3 after that victory tonight.
Huge win.
And Williston and Minot, the other big schools going at it. Minot 42-6 to even out at 2-2 on the season. In 2A in North Dakota, Jamestown 46-14 over Turtle Mountain tonight. Jamestown is 3-2 on the season. Bismarck St. Mary's and Fargo Shanley, the big guns in AA, both winners tonight. St. Mary's over Devils Lake 17-15 in a battle of top fives there. St. Mary's gets to 4-0. Fargo Shanley is 4-0. They hand Central Cass the Squirrels their first loss of the season, 40-22, and Jody's got that game coming.
Big road win for the Deacons.
As well in the highlights in about 15 minutes or so. In Class A, North Dakota, Hillsboro Central Valley is 4-0. They are number 1 in the class. Beat Milner North Sargent tonight. First loss for those guys, 29-8 there. Carrington gets to 4-0, 56-6 tonight over Bottineau. Velva and Kenmare Bowbells. Velva big 64-6 in that one. That's the number 3 team in Class A. Number 4 is Beulah, and they just get by Killdeer 21-18. So Beulah gets to 5-0 on the season. Also in Class A, Bowman County and Southern McLean. Bowman County wins that one 50-0 to get to 4-0. Minot Bishop Ryan High School is 4-0 after their 33-0 win tonight over the Lax Burlington. And in 9-man in North Dakota, number 1 Thompson is 5-0 now, 44-8 tonight over Hankinson. New Salem Glen Ullen is 5-0 as well, 48-6. And Jody's got highlights of that game coming up in a few minutes. You're nodding your head, Jason?
I'm nodding my head because I think Thompson and New Salem Glen Ellen are ready on a path, a collision course, if you will, at the Dakota Bowl.
Yes, sir. 5-0. Both of those teams after those wins tonight. Shiloh Christian is also 5-0, 58-6 tonight over Beach. Jody's got some highlights from that game. And Napoleon Gackle Streeter, 28-7. Napoleon Gackle Streeter is 5-0, and that's the first loss of the season for Oaks. And again, Jody Norstad, highlights from North Dakota coming up in about 15 minutes or so. Let's go to South Dakota, Jason. O'Gorman, that is a final now, just finished it up at Howard Wood Field, 39-7. And Tate Wishard, 3 touchdown runs for O'Gorman. We'll take a look at that ball game coming up in a little bit. Tupac Capella, 4 touchdown runs as Washington beats Mitchell tonight.
Huge night for him. He etched his name once again in the record books. We'll get to that during the highlights.
The new touchdown king at Sioux Falls, Washington. Also the homecoming king, Tupac Capella. Highlights coming up in that one. Brookings got touchdowns from Parker Beers, from
that?
Carter Idom, shown to Wilbur for a touchdown. Justin Devine scored. 4 different guys scored touchdowns. And Brookings is 3-0, and that's the first loss of the year for Watertown.
How about that? Yes, and we have Brookings live right here on Midco Sports Network next week. can't wait to see what they're all about.
Brookings and Pierre coming up next Friday night. Sioux Falls Roosevelt again. This game was very close. Yankton led 15-13 at halftime, and then Roosevelt kind of blew it open late. But the Riders stay number one in the big schools in South Dakota. They get to 4-0, and highlights of that game from Yankton coming up in a little bit. Aberdeen Central gets his first win of the year. Beat Rapid City Stevens tonight, 28-12.
And the year just continues to tumble for the Stevens team. I still think they have the potential to do something down the stretch, but they've got to get some things sewed up.
Raiders dropped to 1-3. Brandon Valley, Thomas Skolton, 5 touchdown passes tonight as they beat Rapid City Central 47-7. We got some highlights of that one here in a couple of minutes. Huron got to number 1 and then went to Pierre and got busted tonight, 34-7 the final in that one. Both those teams are 3-0, and some highlights from the web stream of that game coming up in a little bit. Harrisburg all over Douglas tonight. Harrisburg evens out at 2-2 on the season. And in 11A tonight, Jandy, it was Dakota Valley over Tri-Valley. Dakota Valley gets to 4-0. They are the number 1 team in Class 11A. T area, no problem with Lennox tonight. Luke Elkins, 2 touchdown runs. T got touchdowns from Slykehouse and Hunter West and all those guys as they win 40-15. And we'll take a look at that game here in a couple of minutes. West Central, back-to-back wins now. They beat up on Del Rapids tonight, 42-14. Both of those teams are now 2-2. And Madison keeps rolling. They are 3-1. They had 5 different players score touchdowns tonight in that win over Vermilion. In 11B, it was Canton over Beersford. Canton is 5-0 on the season. We got highlights of that game coming up in a little bit. It was tied at 14 at one point. Sioux Falls Christian rolls over Sioux Valley, and the Chargers get to 3-1 with that 47-6 win. Also in 11B, Jamin Aaron, 3 touchdowns on the night. Bridgewater Emory Ethan gets by Elk Point Jefferson. Bridgewater Emory Ethan is 4-0 on the season. Mount Vernon Plankinton, how about these guys,
We're
Jamie?
probably not talking enough about this team.
They are 5-0 now after that win tonight.
Jesse Hastings, just one of the many guys on this team, is having a tremendous year. They're a very young team too, so watch them for the next month. They could really be a powerhouse.
All right, Mount Vernon Plankinton gets to 5-0. 9-man games in South Dakota watching tonight. Howard, highlights of this one coming up. Don't have any stats yet, but Howard in a back and forth gets by Irene Maconda 60-57.
Yeah, Irene Maconda came out throwing. They got, I think, scores on their first 2 plays of the game. But Howard, that's a win that team desperately needed.
First loss of the year for Irene Wakanda, and again, highlights of that game coming up in a little bit. Warner, the number 2 team in Class 9A. Sully Buttes, the number 1 team in Class 9B, and Sully Buttes stays unbeaten, 58-40.
Yeah, Nick Whitler is having a tremendous year for Sully Buttes, and they pretty much had to pad most of this game, but Warner kept coming back and trying to slice it to a score or two. It was a very high-scoring game, and Sully Buttes found a way to probably stay at number 1 in Class 9B.
And one more 9-man score. Cologne, number 3 in 9B, 68-16 tonight. And the Cowboys are 4-0 on the season. Gregory was off tonight. Woolsey Wessington won tonight, and some other 9-man scores in South Dakota.
Let's get into the highlights. I think we've got Howard Wood Field highlights to start with.
The late game there, O'Gorman and Lincoln just getting finished up. And O'Gorman 3-0 coming into this game, number 2 behind Roosevelt. Lincoln without a couple of their best players in this game tonight.
Yeah, Tommy Thompson was hurt last week. He was doubtful for this game. And then Hunter Merkley probably out for the season with a broken collarbone. And you see Zach Norton, the playmaker, has had 4 touchdowns over the last his last 2 games, and he got started early in this one.
Yeah, they could not bring him down. Norton with a touchdown run there. He had 170 yards rushing. He also had 142 yards passing. He goes to Connor, that was that Tate Wishard with a touchdown?
This is Tate Wishard with the
Here's
touchdown.
Wishard, 13 yards there. And a 19-0 O'Gorman gets out to the lead. They get out to a 22-0 lead on Lincoln at halftime. Connor Pavelko with a couple of field goals on the night.
He might be the best kicker in the state. This guy's a young kicker and a huge weapon when you got somebody like that moving into the playoffs.
All right, 22-0 O'Gorman at halftime. Melvin T, running back for Lincoln, gets in on a 3-yard touchdown run, makes it 22-7. And then Pavelko, another short field goal here, 25-7, O'Gorman in the lead, and then they get a couple more touchdowns tacked on by Tate Wishard and 39-7 is the final tonight, Jason. So the Knights are 4-0.
A big day again for Zach Norton. He's really able to throw the football, and that was the big question coming into the year. We knew he was athletic. We knew he could move the offense, but can he throw? And he had another week this week. He just continues to get better and more comfortable as a thrower, but the 170 yards on the ground, I mean, tough to stop an athlete like that.
Big night again for Tate Wishard there, 131 yards and 3 touchdowns. O'Gorman stays unbeaten. In Rapid City tonight, it was Brandon Valley visiting Rapid City Central. And early on, the Lynx, 4th and 12 there. Thomas Skolton had a big night. Goes to Cole Siegfried there for the first score of the evening.
You got so many big weapons. Cole Siegfried, a huge target. Carter Olthoff, a huge target. But Skolton is starting to get comfortable, guys. That's bad news for the rest of the state.
This is Tate Johnson on the ground for Brandon Valley down the sideline, and that sets up a Skolton to Carter Olthoff touchdown to end the first quarter.
Carter Olthoff has been grabbing, about 2 touchdowns a week, and right here makes another huge grab. It's such a weapon to have a guy where you can just throw the ball up, and he can find a way to bring it down.
That's a good throw by Skolton, though. Put it on the money to Olthoff. The Lynx would miss the point after there. 13-0, they were in the lead.
Nice.
And then Skolton again to Olthoff. 51 yards on that connection there. That sets up a 3rd down and 1 carry here by Jesse Steffel for the touchdown.
He's going to be a guy you're going to want to get to know. Jesse Steffel, about a 6'2" running back, super fast. He gets it done. And Brandon Valley had no problem here with that aerial strike all night.
Beat up 19-0, and then Olthoff again, 62 yards, 27-0 at halftime. And again, Skolton goes to Olthoff. He goes to Siegfried again in the second half. Jeremy Weedman did have a touchdown run for Rapid City Central's only score here, but 47-7 tonight, Brandon Valley.
He's had one in every single game for the Cobblers, a weapon for sure, but this Lynx team is really starting to put it together now that Skolton is feeling better. He didn't have a great offseason as far as arm injuries and then dealing with some illness, but he's starting to really put it together.
All right, Brandon Valley 3-1 after that win tonight out in Rapid City. Back at Howard Wood Field, and it was homecoming, and that is Tupac Capea. He was crowned homecoming king this week at Sioux Falls, Washington.
Look at this. This looks like a touchdown to me. Jaden Johansson, coming off of appendicitis, decides to keep it himself. They called him out at the 1, so Tupac gets the touchdown.
That looked like he was in, but yeah, Tupac.
He's complaining right here.
I
was right there. I was in.
He did kick the pylon over. It should have been 6, but Capea would have a record-setting night here. Robert Doherty with an interception there for the Warriors. And again, they're trying to get well here after back-to-back losses to Roosevelt and O'Gorman.
Well, they looked well in this first quarter. They got all over him. That's Jed Anderson with the touchdown catch.
Anderson scores there to make it 14-0, and then Tupac Capea,
his best run of the night.
50 touchdowns in his high school career. That breaks the Washington record set by Brandon Moore for touchdown runs.
Yeah, 50 touchdowns for the kid.
He got number 51 to make it 28-0. Drew Kitchens gets Mitchell on the board here. And Mitchell ran the ball for almost 190 yards tonight, but it would not be enough. 28-6 Washington at halftime. Capea with 4 touchdowns on the evening, 179 yards. And he moves into 3rd place all-time, Jason, in rushing yards in high school in South Dakota.
Yeah,
Jason Lieber of Vermilion
Yep.
is the leader in 11-man. Scott Nedved of Yankton, and then Tupac Capea right behind them.
So he's running up, and he's got a chance to challenge Jason Lieber's record. 141 yards in the first half for Capea, ends up with 179. This is only the first game of the year that he's been over 100. He's been at 100, but first game of the year he's over 100 yards, so he's starting to click.
And he needs about 1,100 yards to catch Jason Lieber for the all-time record. But Capea sets the Washington record tonight, and the Warriors, after back-to-back losses, get to 2-2 now. Mitchell falls to 1-3 on this season. And we've got some post-game from this game, and let's go to it.
I mean, we had a great practice all week. I mean, we took the energy from the second half of that O'Gorman game, and we just really ran with it. We picked up our practices because they were kind of sloppy the week before. So we really picked that up, and I was happy with the practices.
It's pretty good. I didn't even know about it until yesterday. I was walking in the hall, and my coach came up, Coach Statham, came up to me and said, hey, all you need is 1 touchdown, and you're up there. And I was like, all right. And he told me, he said, exactly when you make that touchdown, keep that ball and give it to your dad. And I was all like, yep, that's the plan. So exactly when I made that touchdown, I looked for my dad up there and I threw it to him.
And he did too. He took a U-turn and ran up the track, found his dad, got the ball. I didn't get video of that, but a huge career for Tupac Capella. This guy is feeling really good this season.
Been a good week, and he kind of emerged as a sophomore.
Oh, he played as a freshman as well.
Kind of skinny little guy.
Yeah,
he's turned
he's
into
really.
really
And Jaden
good player.
Johansson, coming off of appendicitis, 10 days later, able to throw the ball tonight. He is feeling much better as well.
Gabe Pearson had a big game as night tonight.
He did.
4 catches, 156 yards, and a touchdown for Washington in that win. And 11A tonight. Let's go out to Pierre. And the Governors hosting Huron, and Huron voted the #1 team in the class this week after starting 3-0. But Pierre cooled them off tonight. Garrett Stout with a touchdown run, and the Govs get out early. Jet McGurr
He's heaving the ball a little bit.
hooks up with Cooper Freiberger there, and then McGurr will go to Kobe Bush for a touchdown to tie it at 7.
Yeah, ignored the score bug on this one. We took the stream off of Pierce High School, and a couple nice throws right there by Jet McGurr, but it was Pierce night. Don't be fooled. They were clicking on offense. Garrett Stout had one of the best nights anybody on this team's had all season long.
Zane Schucard with a catch there, and then Stout with a touchdown run. McGuire Rasky had a touchdown to make it 13-7 Governors. And it just kind of rolled from there. So after being tied 7-7, Stout with another touchdown run there made it 20-7. Governors kept piling it on. Schucard had a 75-yard touchdown grab in the third quarter, and Pierre 34-7 tonight. So both teams are 3-1, and who knows what is going to happen at the end of the year in 11AA.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, anybody could catch fire. Mitchell could come back. Yankton played well tonight, but they only have 1 win on the year. So you've got Mitchell and Yankton, who might be the best teams in the class with just 1 win each. And then you've got
Brookings just beat
Brookings,
Watertown.
Huron, and all these teams with 3 wins. And, I mean, Pierre's right up there. Who knows? Who knows? Let's just watch.
All right.
Watch and have fun.
Pierre over here, and tonight both teams are 3-1. We've still got highlights coming up from Yankton and Harrisburg and Beersford and T-Area and Sioux Falls Christian. But when we come back, we'll go to Jody in West Fargo with the night in North Dakota high school football.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics, Farmers Union Insurance Agency, South Dakota State University, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live, and let's head up to West Fargo, North Dakota, where Jody Norstedt pulling double duty tonight. We had the live game here on Midco Sports Network, Fargo North, Fargo South.
Jody, what were you watching? I know it's mid-season. It's that turning point for a lot of teams. There were a lot of good games tonight. What were you particularly looking for tonight?
Well, I think my 3 headlines going into the night. This is a massive night for Class 2A. The top 2 teams in the state on the road against top 5 teams. #1 St. Mary's at #4 Devils Lake. #2 Shanley at #3 Central Cass. Will one of those other teams step up and knock off a perennial power? #2 comes from the EDC. Cheyenne is off to a great start defensively, but can they slow down a high-scoring Davies offense? Eagles are averaging an EDC best 37 points per game entering the night. My final headline, our Week 1 game ball winner, Oscar Benson, has run wild on every team this year for top-ranked HCV. Will it happen again against a 3-0 Milner North Sargent squad? And Jandy, I mean, looking at these games tonight, let's get to the North-South game, the one that we brought you live on Midco Sports Network. North hoping the return of some key players would provide a little bit of a boost, but Dawson Weisenberger was doing all the boosting early on in this one. Weisenberger with a big tackle, Weisenberger with a big swat. There's a reason he's committed to NDSU. North had a lot of success running the ball. Peyton Fisher grinding out some yards in the first half, but neither team could score in the first half. Here's Fisher flipping the ball over to McIntyre, or another guy, and anyways, they had a shot at a touchdown, and as you saw, swatted away by South. Scoreless game at the half, and then South goes on fire. Sibumana Enoch taking the pass from Wyatt Hansen, making a few defenders miss. And then a fumble at the goal line, but Danny Lahai, look at me, right there, the EDC's leading rusher, gets into the end zone. Caleb Friddle trying to get North going, but John Farr delivers his 6th interception of the season. Yes, 6 in 4 games. Bless Flomo had 3 touchdowns last game, has a big catch here, sets up another touchdown from Lehigh. The EDC's leading rusher with about 170 rushing yards tonight. You knew South could do no wrong when their kicker throws a 2-point conversion to Weisenberger. And then the quarterback throws another touchdown to Weisenberger. South starts to pour it on a bit here, up 21-0 and 22-0 after that 2-point conversion earlier. Then Hansen to Sibomana Enoch. Enoch with a monster game. He doubled all of his totals, 7 catches, 150-some yards. There you see it, 136 yards in the score for Enoch. South, 29 points, all scored in the second half, and the Bruins get the job done against their rivals, Fargo North.
It was Coach Locks. He just told us, come on, guys, these guys can't hang with you guys. And then I guess that got in our head, and we just showed it the second half. It's a big rivalry. We just had to carry the legacy from our past, and yeah, we just had to bring the energy. And if we keep playing like this, we're going to go to state.
It definitely was a tale of 2 halves. We just got on our guys, motivated them a little bit for the second half, that this wasn't going to be easy. They had to actually work to get the job done, and we really stressed execution and taking care of your job. We had a few too many guys trying to do too much in the first half, but they responded well in the second half, played well, and got out on top tonight.
We'll try to get to Cheyenne Davies at Bismarck and Mandan in a bit. First, West Fargo hosting Legacy on homecoming. The defending champs, just 1 touchdown through the first 3 games against state-ranked opponents. Packers trying to avoid 0-4 for the first time since 2001. Sabres strike first. Rhett Clements to Cooper Glenn. Nice toe tap. Legacy up 6-0. Clements and Legacy had it going early. Out of the shotgun. Clements on the drop finds a hole. Takes it all the way down to the 1-yard line. Sabres add to their lead, make it 13-0, but back come the Pack. Cooper Solly finds a wide open Carter Barancott. Boy, he's a really good receiver for the Packers. Just West Fargo's 2nd touchdown of the year. Lead cut to 13-6. West Fargo needed that one. The homecoming crowd feeling it. Fans out there still really supporting this team in green, and that momentum really gets the Packers going. Solly, another dime of his own. The Packer quarterback to UND commit Luke Lennon. West Fargo up 14-13. The Packer defense then gets involved. Clements under pressure. EJ Langstaff, another UND commit, strips the ball away. Marcus Gully picks it up, then rumbles from 17 yards out. Just like that, West Fargo with 20 unanswered points. Packers up 20-13. Beginning of the third, Gully would find pay dirt again, this time on the offensive side of the ball. Sully moves around, then finds the open Gully in the back of the end zone. 27-13 Packers, and West Fargo gets its first win of the year, 40-20, knocking off Legacy. They'll take on Red River next week back into the EDC. Let's take a look at Bismarck against Mandan at the Starion Sports Complex. Only the 4th game for the Braves on that turf that debuted almost a year ago. Bismarck has won 6 straight in the series with the Demons. Needed overtime, remember, to win it last year. First quarter, first touch of the game. Isaiah Olson, Izzy, runs it up the middle. And boy, he's been doing this a lot this year, hasn't he? 70 yards for the score. Bismarck High scores first. They score often. Mandan punting from deep in their own end zone. It's blocked by the Demons. Next play finds Olson again for the touchdown as he barely crosses the goal line. Demons up 14-0. Bismarck High's defense, special teams, all great in the first quarter. Here, the strip of Mandan's Austin Fry. Great field position coming up for the Demons, and they capitalize a few plays later. 56-31 though. Bismarck goes on to win this one. The top-ranked Demons still looking pretty good.
It felt really good. Last game I dropped the interception, but I came out with one this game. I don't know, all I saw was a little cluster or whatever, guys on the ground. I seen the ball pop up right in front of my face, so I just grabbed it. I'm not sure if it hit the ground or not.
Let's go from the west to the east. Winner of this game stays in first in the EDC. Cheyenne visiting Davies. Eagles with the highest scoring offense in the conference, but without Jaden Claybo, the NDSU commit, out for the 2nd straight game. Mustangs, of course, with the best defense. Tyler Terhark showing some offense, though, for the Cheyenne squad. Nathan Goldaddy then gets into the end zone, makes it 7-0 Cheyenne. The offense was clicking. Parker Sander really likes Caden Jastrom, and I would too. He's a pretty darn good wide receiver. Take a look at this throw from Sander to Jastrom. Oof, nice catch by number 4, and he is gone. To the end zone, 14-0. And all of a sudden, Cheyenne in front. Davies, though, doesn't quit. Check out this play. Sander under pressure, and Sam Moser steps in front of Jastrom for the interception. And then later, Davies working its way back into this game. It was 14-0 at the half, but here come the Eagles. Brett Vetter grinds his way into the end zone. This is when conditions, as you can tell, get really sloppy. There's a lightning delay before the game. Now it's a torrential downpour. After the touchdown, extra point blocked by Tommy Bright. He was on my top performers list last week because he had 3 sacks and a safety. Then Brett Vetter, though, gets another touchdown. This makes it 14-12. So Davies needs a 2-point conversion to tie the game. Remember, they missed that extra point, so now they need 2. And Forknell loses the ball. He's tackled anyways, and it is over. Cheyenne wins it 14-12. How about them Mustangs? 3-1 they improved to. Davies now 2-2. Here's what they had to say after the game.
Well, our line came to play this game. They were pushing each other around, and our running backs found the holes and hit it hard and made plays. Well, right now we're in a pretty good spot. We haven't gotten anything yet, but hopefully we just keep going week by week, winning by winning.
Let's take a look at Grand Forks, Red River, and Central. Let's go ahead to Devils Lake and St. Mary's. Let's get to those matchups, the big ones in 2A, starting with this showdown. The Saints have outscored opponents this season 131-8. Firebirds 2-1 on the year. Devils Lake chewed up half of the quarter with their first drive, but the Saints chew up half the field on their first offensive play. Drew Dodge to Jackson Wiseman. Saints don't score on that possession, however. The Firebirds trying to get it on the long ball, or in the second, Alex Scheifbauer has other ideas, picks it off. The Saints take over in a scoreless game. Later in the quarter, Saints go marching into Firebird territory. Ben Schmidt takes the short pass and picks up a good chunk of change here before being brought down. That sets up Dosh, who takes it himself to put the first points on the board with 6 minutes left in the first half. Saints up 7-0, and they'd add a field goal shortly after. So this is kind of a grinded out game. Devils Lake working their way back into it. Parker Hansen lobs it up for Austin DeVere. Nice catch. It would get 3 from a Marco Tamboni field goal to cap the drive, but the top seed hangs on for the 17-15 win. So St. Mary's escapes an upset bid from Devils Lake with the victory. They'll take on Jamestown next week. What do we got coming up next? Central and Red River. Let's go back to 3A. The Cushman Classic taking center stage in Grand Forks. Red River had won 8 straight before Zach Murphy and Central knocked them off last year. Riders looking for payback, and this is probably a good start. Connor Arl takes it 50 yards into the end zone. Later in the first quarter, Parker Monet scrambles. Parker Monet really good on his feet, running the ball, passing the ball. It doesn't matter. He gets into the end zone, a fumble, but it's already in the end zone after he fumbles it. 14-0. Red River student section loving it. Moving to the second. Red River going to the ground again. Nathan Schumacher pounds his way in. It's 21-zip Red River. The Riders loving all that. Trying to find some momentum. Jackson Lorenz takes it to the air, and Max Danks comes down with a spectacular grab over the defender. How about that one? Central finally giving their cheerleaders something to get pumped up about. Late in the first half, Monet, though, airs one out to his buddy Bryce Enerson, who hauls it in for another touchdown for the Rough Riders, and they lead it 27-0. Take a look at the scoreboard. Red River takes back this rivalry with a 34-10 victory. Afterward, the Riders pretty pumped. We'll move on to Shanley at Central Cass. Let's go to 2A, back to 2A. So St. Mary's had that big win over Devils Lake to stay unbeaten. We'll see if Shanley could do the same visiting the new turf out in Central Cass. The Deacons with their toughest test of the year, really. Central Cass ranked 3rd in the state. Shanley wasting no time making their presence known. Andrew Clark takes the opening kick to the 11-yard line here. And let me tell you a little bit about the game for Andy Clark to start. He also had 2 interceptions in the game. In the first half, Junior Tote finally takes him down. A few plays later, though, Cade Busek taking the option for the score, makes it 7-0. Kuhneman with the pitch to Busek. Remember Busek, the quarterback that led him all the way to the Dakota Bowl last year. After a botch punt up by the Squirrels, it's the Deacons again. Kuhneman to his favorite target, Haley Buckholtz. The UND commit hauls it in for the 23-yard touchdown. 13-zip Shanley before she can even enjoy her snack. In the second now, Central Cass threatening, Central Cass scoring. J.J. Albrecht crosses the end zone. We have a game, 13-8 Deacons. Shanley now right before the half, 4th and 10. This one hurts for the Squirrels. Pass complete from Kuhneman to Austin Manuel, and he brings it to the 1. The Deacons score a few plays later, and it's 20-8 Deacons providing the firepower in the first half. But look at that, Kuhneman is injured. He missed most of last season with an injury. He's on crutches in the second half. Shanley has the luxury of depth, however, because they have this guy, Cade Busick, the QB sneak, 60 yards. He makes it look easy. 26-8. Shanley in complete control. Still in the third. Deacons dominating. Manuel takes it in from 10 away, and it's 33-8 visitors. Shanley certainly keeping pace with the Saints at the top of 2A. They win this one 40-22, but the story from this one afterward, yes, despite the Deacons moving to 4-0, is the injury to Caden Kuhneman.
We knew they were going to be coming out right away. They wanted a win against us, but I knew, or our team knew right from the get-go that we had to put it on them and put it on them quick.
Well, last year when I came in against Watford, I fumbled the first play. I was so nervous. I didn't know what I was going to do. And this year I was ready for this, and I expected my chance to come.
Junior number 22, Tyler Winnie.
Valley hosting 3-0 Milner North Sargent. Boy, that guy's number 11 is pretty good. Oscar Benson. He's been our game ball winner before. He might be our game ball winner again somewhere on down the line, but this is Mark Hastings bouncing a run outside. A few plays later, Hastings again, this time on the end of a Micah Gallagher pass. It's good for a big gain. Then it's none other than, yes, Mr. Benson. Man, number 11 is fast, he's shifty, he can do it all, and he was doing it all in Hillsboro tonight. Reaches the end zone, Burrows up 8-0 after the 2-pointer. Second quarter, Hillsboro lost 2 turnovers, but allowed no points after them, before the Mark Hastings-Micah Gallagher connection opens up once again. That play sets up a dandy of a run by Oscar Benson. Check this one out. He does a little bit of everything. Stiff arm, another stiff arm, and then whoop, spin move. Benson jukes out another guy, and he's in the end zone. Boy, I wish I could do that. HCV led 16-0 after that. They go on to win 29-8. The number 1 ranked Burros continue to look sharp, handing Milner North Sargent its first loss of the year at 3-1 now. Out west, can 4th-ranked Beulah keep it rolling? They welcome Killdeer to town. Miners running back Caleb McGraw had a huge game last week with 187 rushing yards and a pair of scores. Beulah showing off the homecoming royalty. How about that? Here's Tristan Miller, a long run down to the 11-yard line. Tristan having all those Cowboys chase him down. Later on the drive, Jace Lee's going to get in from a yard out. I'll take that ball. Beulah up 6-0. Killdeer has the answer, though. Riley Reese with a touchdown run. Cutting to the outside of the Miners. Lowers the boom at the end of that run. Makes it 6-6. Here's Jim Dooley trying to encourage his Beulah squad, the 4th-ranked team in the state. Killdeer's Dylan Tabor passes to Gabe Maggie after Beulah had a turnover on downs in the red zone. And then later it's Tabor going to have the touchdown pass to the same guy, Maggie, number 89, looking good here. Hauls it in over the defender. Nice diving catch. Makes it 12-6. That was the halftime score, 12-6 Killdeer. Beulah comes back to win it, 21-18, so the Miners still unbeaten going into the Coal Bowl next week against Hazen. Down to the 9-man ranks. Thompson is ranked number 1 in the latest poll, but I still voted New Salem Glen Ullin as my top team, with Thompson second. Holsteins look dominant again tonight against Central McLean. Holsteins already up 8-0. Evan Hankey hands it off to Braden Zuroff, which is never a bad idea because this guy's got some serious speed. 74 yards into the end zone for the score. Home team up 18-zip. Second quarter, Holsteins on the 1. Evan Hankey, tough to stop him on a short yardage situation. 28-0. Hankey then hands off to Zuroff again, punches it in for another Holsteins touchdown. Stop me if you've heard that before. Holsteins touchdown. Looking for one more before the half, but Caden Hornberger picks it off. So it was 34-0 at half for New Salem Glen Ullin, and the Holsteins go ahead and pick up the win in this one. The number 2 ranked team in the state, a 48-6 victory. They'll take on Richardson Taylor Hebron, who's having a good season, next week. Shiloh Christian seems to be getting stronger by the week. The 3rd-ranked Skyhawks were flying high above the Beach Buccaneers tonight. First quarter still scoreless. Jaden Mitzel hands off to Kanan Fagerlin on the counter. He gets a few blocks in front of him, and he'll take care of the rest. 2-point conversion, no good though. The Buccaneers march down the field on the next possession. They're all the way down in the red zone, and they hand it off to Gage Swanson, who crosses the goal line with ease, tying the game. Now to the start of the second, Skyhawks in the red zone, and again, who else would you want to give it to? Fagerlin back in there for 6. And Shiloh, no trouble again. That was on 4th down. The Skyhawks are rolling right now. The number 3 ranked team in the state. They could be right there in the mix with the Thompsons, New Salem Glen Ellen. That's New Salem Glen Ellen score. Let's try to look at the Shiloh Christian's score here. The Skyhawks went on to win 58-6. 3 rushing touchdowns for Fagerlin plus a pick 6. They get Henninger Scranton next week. Guys, that is a wrap for me. It was busy. Century, a win in 3A, 42-7. Probably no surprise there for the 3rd-ranked Patriots. But Shanley and St. Mary's still looking like the cream of the crop, but St. Mary's with a little bit of a scare at Devil's Lake tonight.
And we heard from the guys at Fargo South saying we're going to state. Are they good enough to get there?
Boy, they certainly have the weapons right now, and they're going to be getting a turf field, so they have a lot of things going for them right now. Sibamana Enoch looked really good tonight. So did Danny Lahai. They have the leading passer, leading rusher, and some of the best receivers in the state right now in that offense.
All right. Way to roll with it tonight, Joe. Nice job, buddy.
It was everything getting thrown at me.
Right,
That's how it goes sometimes, right?
All right. Thanks a lot, Jody. All right, when we come back, we'll get back to some South Dakota highlights, including that 60-57 game between Howard and Irene Wakanda. We've got, who else we got?
We got some Yankton.
We got Yankton some T and Roosevelt.
T, yeah.
We got some T highlights. All that coming up when we come back on Varsity Sports Live.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics, Farmers Union Insurance Agency, South Dakota State University, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. Halfway through the high school football season now, and let's go back to the highlights in South Dakota, Jason. And we had Douglas coming all the way across the state to take on Harrisburg tonight.
Harrisburg coming off of a loss, and Huron, they needed to get back on track here. And I think the doctor prescribed Douglas for them.
Douglas giving up 59 points per game in his first 3. And Jack Tigan for Harrisburg had a pretty good night, 35 yards. He will score on the first touchdown here to make it 7-0. There's Mr. Tigan on the fake, and 35 yards for the score here after the spin. That was nifty.
Yeah, the sophomore can really run as well as developing in that throwing game. But they need somebody to run. Jack Rayburn out for the season, the one guy that they really could depend on. They didn't have a running back ready outside of him, so to see Tigan run the ball like that's a huge plus for the team.
All right, as you said, Harrisburg 1-2 coming into this game. Beat Pierre, lost to O'Gorman, lost to Huron. Douglas giving up some big points. And here's some defense from the Tigers. And you get Nick Dirks and the big guys. 62 there is Dirks. And Harrisburg kind of shutting them down.
This Douglas team is very young, inexperienced. They had a tough time against this Tiger team.
All right, Max Anderson with a grab, and Harrisburg goes on to win this one 48-0, Jandy. Sorry, not much in the highlights there, but Harrisburg does get well, and the Tigers get back to 2-2. And again, they're in 11AA, which is the biggest toss-up of a division you will ever see in high school football.
Yeah, everybody's in it. I mean, well, not everybody. But there are about 7 teams
7, yes,
that are in it in 11AA this year.
All right, Harrisburg back to 2-2 with that win over Douglas tonight, and the Patriots go to 0-4.
Ready for some points?
There were 117 total points in this game between Irene Wakanda, the number 3 team in 9AA, and Howard out of 9A. And you got Trey King to Brandon McDonald for the first score of the game, 7-0.
He's coming off of an 11-reception game, over 200 yards, and the way this one started, I mean, Trey King has just been dominant. The first 2 plays offensively of the game were both big plays for the Eagles.
Slips by a tackle there. Trey King goes 63 yards, and Irene Wakanda in the lead 15-0. But Howard comes back here. Michael Hofer on a 21-yard run to cut the lead in half.
Coming off of a 100-yard game himself, and good for Howard not to really, back down after getting down early. They came out all engines blazing.
And they were going in here, but punched away from behind, and they do rule it a touchback. It was just outside the goal line, so Howard cannot tie it up there, but there would be plenty more points here. King on the tip drill here, picked off by Tyson Spader. And that will set up the score here for Howard. Zach Party with a 3-yard touchdown run, and Howard in the lead 16-15.
Trey King is a one-man show for the Eagles. You saw him on defense make a huge play, running the ball, passing the ball. So tough to shut this guy down.
Well, he went 63 yards on that first touchdown. He goes 70 yards here for Trey King. And Irene Wakanda back in the lead, 23-16. Did not last very long as this was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. There's Zach Party again, 52 yards the other way for Howard. And the Tigers back in the lead at 24-23. And here's Trey King slipping out of a tackle there, goes to his man. And that is Brandon McDonald again, 48 yards on that connection, sets up those two guys. Again, the screen to McDonald this time. And Irene Wakanda, Eagles back in the lead at 29-24. But Howard coming right back at him. They've got Gavin Erickson Reisdorfer. That is one young man. And he goes 61 yards here.
Oh, almost made it.
Just steps out. I'm going to the back side of the shot sheet here, Jason. Party again, 5-yard touchdown run. Howard in the lead 30-29. This is how the entire game went. King to Brandon McDonald again, 54-yard touchdown. Irene goes back in the lead 37-30. They kept trading scores, and Howard gets a big win, 60-57, Jason. First loss of the season for Irene Wakanda.
Big win for Howard. They needed that win. When you look at their schedule, that's going to vault them up the 9A rankings.
All right, one other peek in 11B tonight. You get Canton at 4-0, the number 2 team in 11B behind Bridgewater Emory. Ethan taking on Beersford.
Yeah, I wanted to see how Canton would bounce back in this game after, getting a big win against Sioux Falls Christian last week, and then maybe, letting their guard down a little bit against a team like Beersford. But I think both teams played really well.
Yeah, Canton had the lead. Tyler Kopinski with a touchdown for Beersford to make it 14-7 at halftime. Caden Verley did have the go-ahead score in the third quarter for Canton. They went up 21-14. And then late in the ballgame, Beersford was knocking in the fourth quarter. Canton had an interception in the end zone by Caden Verley. Shaden Scheidt would finish off their last drive with a touchdown. And this game was tied 14-14, Jason. But Canton scores back-to-back touchdowns in the second half.
Big defensive performance to really save them in this one, and they played well in that second half. And the Seahawks, they avoided a little bit of a disappointment, and Beersford is a legitimate team. They are a team to watch out for in 11B.
All right, Shaden Scheidt, you see the numbers there, 135 on the ground. Canton is 5-0 on the season. In Yankton tonight, here was what was really the game of the night, Jandy. You got Roosevelt 3-0 going into Yankton at 1-2. Ethan Wishon had that huge game last week, but Aaron Kusler got Roosevelt started with a touchdown.
Big start, and the passing game really started adding up for Yankton. They thought maybe last week was a little bit of a fluke, but with Sean, he can chuck the ball, and he's got 3 really good receivers who can go up and get it. Right there, doesn't quite come down with it. A big pick for Roosevelt.
But with Sean, as you said, 450 yards through the air. Here's Brady Dannenbring, who can sling it as well for Sioux Falls Roosevelt.
Caden Jordan.
And he hooks up with Caden Jordan there. Roosevelt got out to a 13-3 lead. And then Wishon went to Cade Koletsky to cut that lead in half. He and Koletsky had 2 back-to-back touchdowns in that first half. And Yankton led this game 15-13 at halftime, Jason. Again, Wishon, 450 yards passing.
That's
Koletsky,
7th best all-time in 11-man football for one game. Huge performance. And to put up that many yards against a top-rated defense like Roosevelt, kudos to Yankton.
Yeah, taking the numbers there for Yankton on the right-hand side of the screen there. And again, Roosevelt did not take the lead until the fourth quarter. They fumbled, recovered their own fumble in the end zone for the go-ahead touchdown, and then they pulled away a bit to win it 35-22. But the Bucks are 1-3, and again, in 11AA, you never know. All right, Lennox at T area tonight in 11A, and this is a battle of 2 top 25 teams. Hunter West had a big night again, and T area scored just about every way they could.
Yeah, this one went down to about the 1-yard line, and 2 punched-in touchdowns for the big guy to get them going. And T pretty much put some pad on this, but Zach Leisinger and Mr. Metcalf here, they can really light it up. This Lennox team has a passing game. Watch out for those 2.
Leisinger, 312 yards through the air. Caleb Metcalf had 11 catches, 169 yards and 2 touchdowns for Lennox in this one, but Canton got out to a T area got out to a 21-3 lead. Lennox tried to cut into it in the third quarter there, but Luke Elkins with a couple of touchdown runs in the second half for T area, and they go on and pull away and win this one 40-15.
They're still undefeated in the battle of undefeated. It's an 11A. Looks like T might be a team to watch out for on the championship road.
All right, one more set of highlights to get here too. And Sioux Falls Christian at home tonight taking on Sioux Valley. Sioux Falls Christian at 2-1. Fellas, how are you?
I'll tell you how Parker Nelson is. He's starting to run the ball.
Big 20 there for Sioux Falls Christian. Had another big night. Touchdown early to make it 8-0. He tacks on another one here. 164 yards on the ground tonight for Parker Nelson.
Yeah, this guy had such a huge season last year. You know, he didn't come out of the gate really running the football like we knew he could, but he's going to be a weapon down the stretch.
He got the first two. Dawson Mulder with a touchdown for Sioux Falls Christian. They lead at 22-0. Sioux Valley comes back with Lane Vanderwall to kind of chip into the lead a little bit.
This is a nice play for them to be able to go up and get a ball. You know, not a huge game for Sioux Valley, but nice for them to get a couple nice plays. Even though Sioux Falls Christian, I think they really look like, to me, the top team in that class. I know they lost last week to Canton, but we'll see.
Big numbers again for the running backs for Sioux Falls Christian. Again, the Chargers get to 3-1 on the season. They bounce back from that loss against Canton last week. And we got some post-game sound to get to
Let's
here.
go around the board.
Sioux Falls, Washington. Let's start with Huron and Pierre. And again, Huron started the season 3-0. They got rated #1 this week, and then they go to Pierre and get beat 34-7.
Yeah, Jeff Duffy called the game for Huron Performance Radio and had this to say after the game.
I think hopefully the biggest lesson you learn is you got to be ready to play every night. I just didn't feel we were that ready, and Pierre was ready to go. It was their homecoming. They were amped and ready, and it kind of showed out there on the field, especially the second half. When Pierre got up 34-7, they ended up having a nearly 11-minute possession, which resulted in a missed field goal, but ran off nearly half the time in the second half to keep the ball away from us. And, you know, just whatever Pierre needed to get done, they got done tonight.
Drilled it.
Good win for the Govs, and I was listening to Jeff. Just Huron was missing tackles and that kind of thing tonight. Their defense had been really good until tonight, but Huron's still 3-1, and Pierre is 3-1. The game you were at tonight, Sioux Falls, Washington, they come back and do win tonight after losing their last couple of games.
Talked to Chad Statham after the game. First of all, he wasn't feeling that good. Doesn't sound like himself, but he was happy to get a win after 2 losses.
Going again in the second half against OG, we kind of knew that, you know, we played 6 quarters of probably poor football. But we kind of turned the corner here tonight. Again tonight, we were still making some mistakes. We know that. We talked about it. Obviously, you know, our guys played pretty well, and our defense played well. We got a pick 6, and Tupac got going. Our offensive line's getting better, and they showed that tonight. You know, Pac had some nice running lanes, so we're pretty happy with where we're going.
All right, 49-12 tonight, Washington over Mitchell. Back in West Fargo, Jody Norstedt. What's going on up there?
Yeah, guys, a good 9-man matchup tonight. Number 5 Napoleon Gackle Streeter went on the road to unbeaten Oaks and thought, boy, this is going to be a really tough test for both of these teams. And Jason Metco has the recap after Napoleon Gackle Streeter was able to win it 28-7.
Well, this one here tonight came down to really 3 things. First, the rain, which no one was expecting. It lasted throughout the entirety of the game. Second, Oaks turnovers, Napoleon scoring twice off of turnovers. And the third would be the Imperials' ability to stick it to the Tornadoes on 3rd down, converting almost 80% on 3rd down. Napoleon senior quarterback Jamison Fettig, who was an All-Stater last season, continues to have a solid year. He threw for 2 touchdowns and ran in for another 2 in the victory. Reporting for Varsity Sports Live, I'm Jason Metco.
Yeah, Fettig and Weigel, they have a couple of really good, talented players for Napoleon Gackle Streeter. So they'll be in the state rankings. They'll continue to hold down that number 5 spot. Bismarck had the big win over Mandan. The top-ranked Demons, 56-31. So they allowed some points against Mandan, but Mark Gibson was happy with his team and the ability that they were able to shut this team down when it counted.
That was one thing early that our kids came out really excited. There was some social media things back that got to our kids, and you know, I think the one thing you do is make sure that some of those things stay within your teams. And our kids found out about some of the stuff, and it put fuel in the fire. So, you know, I was happy with how we came out and executed right away. But second half, I thought we played awful poorly. That's a big concern of ours, and got to finish games, and we didn't do that very good job of that today.
So Bismarck found some motivation. Bismarck and Century, your 2 unbeatens in WDA play. EDC leaders Cheyenne and South, guys. We'll see what happens next week.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jody. Appreciate it, buddy. All right, when we come back on Varsity Sports Live, the rundown, and we'll get you set for the live college football coverage coming up on Saturday on Midco Sports Network.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics, Farmers Union Insurance Agency, South Dakota State University, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back. Live college football coming up on Saturday. 2 games at 6 o'clock. Arkansas Pine Bluff at South Dakota State. That's on Midco Sports Network 1. Southwest Minnesota State taking on USF. That's on Midco Sports Network 2. And Jandy will have more high school stuff on YouTube. See you next week.